they have somebody come in and cater that, and Treebeards caters it, and they've got good South Louisiana and Cajun food. So I went over there to something to eat, and as I was parking my car behind a very nice pickup, it had two bumper stickers. Now, I am not a bumper. I am used to reading shorter material than you can put on a bumper sticker. So reading bumper stickers is laborious for me. So I looked up, and the one on my right, the pickup's left, said, and I quote, "Do not believe that everything you think is true." And the other one said, "Do not think that everything you believe is true." So they're on opposite ends of the same bumper, are the bookends of the world of reality as we understand it. And that reminded me very much of John Mcadam's visit today, because John Mcadams comes up with some ideas that challenge some of the things that you think and some of the things that you believe. And so within the parameters of those two bumper stickers, I want you to listen to the thought-provoking challenges that John is going to present you. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hey, Mr. Hill. How you doing?
Well, I've managed to survive since our last visit, so it's good to have you back. And how's the summer been going?
It's been ups and downs.
Ups and downs?
Ups and downs,
Yeah, when you were here before, you told me you were headed for the mountains in Colorado at some point.
Yep, I'm still going there on July 21st.
July 21st, so that's right around the corner, literally.
Oh, yeah.
God, time moves a lot faster for me than it does for you, because our perception of time is based on how much of it we have lived.
Yeah.
Now, when you were here before, you challenged us to consider some ideas about gods, or what becomes gods, not just in our culture, but in all cultures, may actually be beings from other civilizations in other places in the universe. Is that a good analysis?
It's a good synopsis, yeah.
Okay. And that I got some feedback from that. Folks called me and said, "Mercy, we hadn't thought about those things, but it makes a lot of sense." And I think probably the example that hit me was this white fellow that shows up in Olmec, Mayan, and Aztec societies. He goes through all those three societies, and he shows up here having come across the waters, and plays a significant role in the designating of their very first heroes and instructors. And then he goes away and he says, "I'll be back." And so they believe that. Whatever you believe to be true either is true or will prove true within the parameters of your experience. And that's right out of the heart of John C. Lilly, who I'm a great fan of. But when somebody that looked like that showed up, it turned out to be Hernando Cortez, who was not of the godly variety. And those folks, what, 3/4 of their population died from viruses they picked up from Europeans? So I'm just going to get out of your way and let you analyze some of that. So take it away.
You want me to stick with the Olmecs, or can I go all over the
You
map?
can go anywhere you want to go. I am a facilitator. This is your show.
All right. Well, last time I talked, I mentioned that I had been a Christian until the age of 15. Mm-hmm. And then I talked to a teacher because I had heard this extremely interesting interview on YouTube by this guy named Jason Martell. And he talked about ancient aliens, and, I thought it was a plausible idea. And so what I started doing is I started looking at it, but I also asked one of my teachers, one of my science teachers, because she was heavy into science and she had heard all this before. And she told me to, it's silly, there's no evidence, and yada, 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 just leave it alone. And I listened to her, but 6 months later I came back to the idea. And I was like, let me go pick up my Bible and let me go sort through all this and see if, any of this ancient alien stuff really makes sense. So I started looking at it. And the interesting thing is that God in the Bible actually has personality. Now, if you think of an all divine being, you don't think of him as needing anything. You think he has everything or he knows everything. But there are various places in the Bible and in other religious texts where the gods not only lie, sometimes they say, I don't know. Sometimes they fly, sometimes they die, they get hurt, they get scared. And, these are all characteristics of something that is alive. Any fundamental Christianist will tell you that God gets jealous or he kills people. Now, if he's so powerful, why would he need to kill everybody to restart the human race? He could just snap his metaphysical fingers and, possibly change everything. So I started looking at the Bible, and I started finding that not only does God have personality, but God also has to use a vehicle to fly around. And I thought that was pretty strange. So how many other gods can use vehicles, or do use vehicles? And the shocking thing is that just about every ancient god you can think of uses a vehicle to fly around. And that, I believe, for me at least, was the turning point.
So it was the Fords that made you do it. Or the Chevrolets. Now, I understand what you're saying. And of course, the more human of the gods would be that bunch from Olympus.
Yes.
I mean, they seriously. I mean, they screw around on their relationships.
And they get jealous big time.
They get jealous big time, and and they got to watch one another because they've got to watch their back from one another because that can get to be nasty too.
And the god Ares. One interesting thing I find about Ares, the god of war, is that whenever he was losing a battle, he would run away. Now, if he's a god and he can't die, why would he have to run away?
Right. I mean, you don't have to sweat that stuff.
Yeah.
If you're going to, if you're not be able to keel over, you've got to. How can you lose? I mean, it's kind of like radio talk show host. I mean, I can't lose an argument. I got all these buttons here and switches.
Exactly.
I cut your throat in a minute and finish the rest of the thought. So you're dead if you're out there calling. By the way, you can call in and ask John some questions or bring up some intriguing issues of your own. 713-222-0715 is the number. I only ask when I have a guest. We kind of stick to the subject. So 713-222-0715. At other times, you can call me and change the subject. But while we got John here, let's be polite. John, you're a young man. And young men, as a class, I think, struggle with religious stuff. I mean, you when you're younger than you are, back when you're like a tow-headed junior high school kind of kid, you kind of take the world for granted as other people feed it to you. But there comes a time in your development when you struggle against that. For me, it was like 17. 17, I said, no. What I'm doing and what I'm believing is this ain't a match. And actually, I was a teenage evangelist at the time. So I gave all that up and became a burglar because I thought it was more honest work. And but the deal is that there comes a time in the maturation process where it is within the normal scope of things to challenge what you have previously accepted without question. And what was that like for you?
I'd say it was an ongoing process, and it still goes on to this day. I'm forever finding new evidences about new things, and I was always very curious as a child, so it didn't start with me at age 15. When I was age 9, 10, 11, I was always reading these UFO books, and I believed in UFOs, but I also believed in Jesus. I mean, I still believe in Jesus, I just have a different perspective on him. But I do still
These things are not necessarily antithetical. I mean, one is not in lieu of the other.
It's just our interpretation.
Yeah, it's a matter of putting it into different contexts.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about finding God is I would always question if God was always in our ancient religions, Christianity, since I was a Christian, why is he not showing up now? Everybody says he shows up like the earthquake in Japan, or the Westboro Church. Whenever a fire goes off at somebody else's church, they say, it's God punishing you, even though their church has been burned down 3 times. And but in the ancient religions, they always saw their gods. So I was wondering, why is there a difference? The interesting thing is that we see UFOs all the time. We see triangle-shaped craft flying over our heads. And what we report today is exactly what they were reporting a long time ago. Even the depictions are the same. Sometimes for Sumerian, Babylonian, Armenian, they have these short 3-foot beings with large eyes, bulbous-shaped heads. Obviously, they couldn't have color because they were etching these in stone.
Mm-hmm.
But even in Egypt, they actually do have ones with large eyes, black heads, but black eyes, which we know today as common grays. So the thing is that in ancient religions, they're describing what we're seeing today, but with our evolution in technology, we're knowing that now these are not gods. These are extraterrestrials from another planet.
Do you think the government knows more than they're telling us?
I do, because so many people from the government have come out and said that they are not telling us the full truth. For example, the 6th astronaut on the moon, Edgar Mitchell, he has written numerous books about him being briefed on government involvement with UFOs.
Secrets.
And how many astronauts have come forth? Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong has come forth, and he didn't publicly say, I believe in extraterrestrials because they told me about them. But he came forward and said that this generation now has to deal with truth's protective layers. So that's kind of like thumbing his nose to the...
Well, is the assumption, or what do you think? You're not behind the curtain, so you don't know, but is it your thinking that the reason they do that is because they think that it's going to alarm us children?
I really don't think so. I believe it's a control device. I think, the government has to have as much control as it can have.
Well, religion is famously a control device at any time.
Anybody who studied French history in the 1700s know that if you make 2 factions fight, then you control them. Because if you look around, every faction in America is fighting with another one. You have religions, you have Democrats, Republicans, you have anti-Mexicans coming into us, you have abortionists, you have marijuana laws. Everybody's fighting with each other, so nobody asks questions.
Well, I mean, if you read Ayn Rand, you get the witch doctor and the chief. You've got a conspiracy going against you, and that's an interesting thing. All of these political theories and all of these religious theories, is there a difference in the nature of what we consider Western religions, Christianity, etc., and Eastern religions, Hinduism and Buddhism?
There's actually a few fundamental differences. For example, sadly, our gods only have 2 arms.
Yeah.
And their noses are regular noses instead of elephant trunks. But Christianity started out and Judaism started out believing in reincarnation. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But in 325 AD, they went to something in Turkey called the Council of Nicaea, held by Emperor Constantine.
Yeah.
And what he did was
the Nicene Creed and the Nicene sorting out of what books are going to be in the Bible.
Exactly.
And so from that point forward, we get an edited edition.
Exactly.
It's kind of like Reader's Digest for believers.
And it's more controlling because where the Hinduistic or Sumerian or whatever have you says that if you're not good, you'll come back, but you'll just keep coming back and reincarnating. Christianity and Judaism stick the fear in you, and the Muslim religions stick the fear in you that if you're not good, you're going to hell. If you don't obey the laws, then you're going to hell. And even though just about every fundamental Christian doesn't obey those laws, they still think they're going to heaven.
Well, and they think their particular brand on that subject is superior to other people's brands.
It says in the Bible that if your wife had a baby before she was married, you're supposed to stone her, but Shirley Phelps is still alive. So
yeah. Actually, that that's one interpretation. The other interpretation, if you get her stoned, she may have a baby before y'all get married.